It's absolutely crazy shame. I have this real SSL 9000 compressor over here on my table. We're gonna compare this to all existing plugin emulations of 9000. You will be shocked. They all lie to our faces. You pay money to them. We're gonna measure them today and we're gonna check them in real applications. It's effing lie. Plugin world is a shame. It's Andrew with one of the best sound production and audio mixing courses. The idea of my course, not only to provide top-notch education with very unique stuff, but also to buzz this very snake oil field. If you don't want to waste your decades and you don't want to be misled, you want to learn top-notch stuff, very unique stuff, and to bust all these myths with me, this course is for you. This is free and small part of lesson number 24. Free videos on this YouTube channel, of course, cool, but they are just to get you interested. Real education is those all full-blown 80 lessons. In the description of this video, learn how to participate in this amazing course. The link to my credits and 250 all 5 stars reviews and 150 all 5 stars reviews verified by Google. And my contacts for any questions. Of course, I care mostly what structure of harmonics and what coloration and what performance will be with compression. But first of all, let's check if they emulated anything coming from line amplifier. Real SSL has little bit of coloration over there when levels very hot. I'm gonna show you this. And then we're gonna go to the most important, where we're gonna check structure of harmonics and performance under compression. First thing, without compression, no color, even with the pushed levels. So it's already first mistake by this plugin. I was, by the way, official tester of this plugin for the version 1 of this native plugin. I point out a couple of mistakes and they didn't apply anything I suggested to them. Ratio 1:1, dynamics on or dynamics off. You measure this plugin and you have absolutely no harmonics. And my real SSL channel strip, 9000 channel strip, with the same 9000 SSL line amplifier and the same dynamics but bypassed, shows exactly the same. However, if on my real SSL channel strip I push line amplifier more and more, you can see on this picture of this module, this is line input, so instead of 0 I start pushing it. So you should understand 0, I don't mean digital 0, it's analog 0, which is much below digital zeros. It's a 0 dBVU level. I start pushing it, and like raising up much more, like super hot, very close to digital 0 dBFS. And this line input is capable to go even more because analog scale dBU is higher than digital dBFS EBU 24-bit. I explained all this in the lesson number 8 and 9. And as a result, we get these two harmonics, quieter second and third a bit pushed. This plugin absolutely doesn't emulate it. If you even push line input all the way up, so it's almost clipping level, but still not clipping, no harmonics. Even if I go above, they didn't emulate any clipping over here. So you have red alarm on the meter, you have red alarm on the input and output of this channel strip, but frequency analyzer still shows absolutely no harmonics. So they didn't emulate neither clipping nor a bit saturation of second and third harmonic when you under clipping but already very hot levels. The same going on if you try to do it with a fader. You can push fader even to the clipping level and still, as you can see, no harmonics at all. So again, not a big deal. I more care what will happen if I apply compressor. So no filter, no EQ, dynamics on, release 100 milliseconds ratio 3:1. I will be compressing vocal maximum with 10 decibels as our vocal is very dynamic. And I'm gonna be compressing drums just by 3 dB as it's amazing compressor working exactly at 3 dB. Chris Rodelgi, for example, always compresses all his drums with a SSL channel compressor just by 3 dB. So 10 dB of compression, nothing pushed on the input or output. It's just exactly the same how I would set up my compressor for the vocal, at least as a starting point. So this is a bunch of harmonics from this plugin. Crazy, check it out. Second harmonic is completely missing, which means it's so low, but my frequency analyzer is the craziest frequency analyzer. Usually frequency analyzers don't even go as deep as to -120. And this second harmonic, it just means second harmonic somewhere there, but it's even quieter than -120 decibels. So this is plugin, this is mine. This is plugin, this is real analog SSL. No surprise, by ears they sound exactly crazy different to each other, you know. Again, don't get me wrong, you're probably asking why SSL cannot emulate it properly. But it depends on emulation techniques. You're not a magician when you emulate something. When you create a mathematical algorithm as a plugin, just because of you created mathematical model how long attack is, how long release is, and what happens with peaks going above the threshold doesn't mean it will be 100% copy as the real device. There are a lot of different hidden things may going on in the real device, you know. First of all, notice second harmonic is crazy prominent on the real one. There is no mistake. I really meticulously compared all this. So second is there. This plugin doesn't have any second harmonic. Third harmonic, yes, loud, and this one is loud, but let's be honest, on the real one with the same amount of compression, you have much more harmonics levels in general. Plugin gives quieter level of harmonics. I mean, looks like a joke, right? And I like a real one by ear so much more, to be honest. Also, one important difference over here, a plugin has higher upper mid-range harmonics, which I always didn't like about those emulations of 1176s and LA2A. Check full lessons 17 and 19, where a real 1176 and real LA2A never gave these like super high harmonics, while all plugins create all over the place those high harmonics. And I'm not talking about aliasing or something. Those plugins have anti-aliasing filter. It's just how they emulate it. So look at 5K, 6K, 7K, and now it's analog. These harmonics at 5, 6, 7K actually quieter on analog one. So analog has more like in mids and less those like high frequency ones. Plugin has the opposite. So plugin is not as thick, but like thinner and noisier on the top. Like brighter, I would say. Now slow attack. So I use 3-to-1 for measurement, still 100 milliseconds release, no fast attack, and just 3 dB of compression. This is the settings which we're gonna check in a second on drums. Previous settings we're gonna check on the vocal. So this is for drums. And this is the plugin. Second harmonic again completely missing. Third is very pushed. Fourth missing. Fifth pushed. I match fundamental tone, and this is the real analog. Oh my god, completely crazy. Second harmonic actually even little bit louder than third on analog. But on the plugin there is no second harmonic and third completely boosted. More than here, right? You still have fourth harmonic is missing on the plugin, and you have those quiet fifth, like on the plugin, okay, but most important is second and third harmonic. It's what defines the basically tone of each plugin coloration-wise. And you get crazy nonsense over here. Sorry. This plugin is still good mixing tool. I use this plugin a lot and it's fine, but again, I paid money not for just random plugin. I paid money to have the same copy of the compressor which I have over here on the table. And it doesn't sound the same, and it doesn't measure the same. So, look at this picture, and now the plugin. Oh my god. I don't use Perfect Project, it's a project recorded by Telefunken. For the vocal, I use this plugin. I deactivate filters and EQ, I activate dynamics. Of course, it's not as shameful as Canadian liberal government mass murderer who killed 400 healthy ostriches in BC farm. You probably heard about this story. If not, it was like this. All these criminals bought a lot of vaccines. Some birds on this farm had flu. But after a year, they acquired herd immunity and everything is good. And government doesn't want you to know about this. That's why they ordered to go there and to shoot to death all these healthy ostriches. They didn't even test them before doing it. They was there with rifles and they were shooting them for 4.5 hours. It's a mass murder committed by effing Canadian liberal government. And big finger to the Justice Minister of Canada, Sean Fraser. Google this story on the internet. The expander gate is not working, so I use fast attack ratio 4-to-1. It's measurement, which I made 3-to-1, but on the vocal I used 4-to-1 and I recorded my real compressor also with 4-to-1 on the same vocal. I need little bit longer release. I put 150. Treating loud, then P disappears somewhere. Then pull anyway a bit louder. Treating people just like all. Still pull. Seems like I need even longer release. Now it's like completely even. Treating goes uneven. Pretty crazy. Seems like it's already too long release. Wrong release time. If you think it's about longer release, no. Now it's like completely treating. So I definitely come back to 200 because there is no other option. Because if I use 150 or 100, it's fluctuating in details. If I use 400, it's fluctuating from node to node. So I have to use something around 150 or 200. So it's really imperfect compressor. It doesn't hold dynamics well. I could say it's because of it's a feed-forward style compressor. All these things I explained from lesson 9 to lesson 15 when I explained type of compressors. So this compressor is usually not so good for evening out, but I believe analog can handle it, because this one cannot handle it. It's not too bad, I mean, with automation, don't get me wrong, I can correct all these fluctuations, but this is the point of compressor. Instead of sitting minutes and minutes, maybe even half of an hour correcting all this manually, I apply a compressor. What's the point to apply a compressor and then anyway manually readjusting all these nodes for 30 minutes? Check it out. This is the analog file. This channel will be yellow. So this is 150 release, 4:1, 10 dB of compression on the word pawn and everything. It's not really perfect performance from analog, but definitely much better between those treating people, and sound much thicker actually. Treating people just like the only thing what I don't like this word pawn, which is crazy exaggerated even from the analog. 1176 LA28 due to feedback style compression always holds this pawn properly, you know, not this feed-forward compressor SSL. Plus it's only one word which has some issue with this compressor, you know. And we can definitely easily fix it with automation. Plugin. Treating people just like all these like strange fluctuations over here. Much thinner sound, notice by the way. Vocal somehow like really above music, and if I make vocal a bit quieter to be put in music, it becomes smaller. Treating people just like and I all the time feel this like tone-wise, I definitely prefer this analog one. It sounds thicker, not as small, not as thin. Treating people just like and it sits in the mix better, you know, it's definitely inside of music rather than outside. Another problem, they all say in their promotional statements when they offer you to buy their plugins, Softube, Brainworx, other manufacturers, they all say big sound. 9000, it's a big sound. I definitely agree, real analog one sounds like big one. Plugin sounds super thin, super small. It's still great mixing tool, don't get me wrong. When I need extra transparency and to be more compact in the mix, actually I like this plugin for this reason. But it sounds not like analog. This is the kick drum without any processing. In the mix it sounds completely lost. Kick I want, but instead I have like you know, I don't hear this kick drum in the mix. We put dynamics on, expander gate is not influencing the sound at all, range at 0, as you can see, even fast attack activated. I explained why you should activate it just in case. It's amazing actually, nuance. Not even 99.9% of people don't know it. Nobody knows it. You really should understand it. My analog SSL 9000 over here. Plugin. Too fat. Kick like boom boom boom. Warm, very thick. Plugin sounds much more transparent. So it sounds like tick tick tick. And this one, you know, definitely like this, you know, so they sound very different. But it's supposed to be an emulation, authentic emulation, right? Crazy. From the other side, what if this kick was a bit thinner, a bit smaller? Maybe it wasn't muddy, or I fix muddiness with EQ, but then I want this profound, super gigantic, powerful low end. Then I would prefer analog, you know what I mean? So it depends on the source always. One is fat and big, second one is thin and transparent. The next compressor, emulation-wise, it completely sucks. I deactivate EQ and filters already deactivated here. THG, it's a total harmonic distortion. So I already showed you a measurement if you crank up real analog SSL channel strip, even with all modules bypassed, you don't clip, but you just crank up heavily line input amplifier, you get quiet second harmonic and a bit louder third harmonic. You measure it, no coloration. You crank up input and output, there is no coloration. If I don't touch the fader but I put just input all the way up, no coloration. Brainworx has a big problem actually with their emulations. Their 4000 emulations completely wrong. I showed it in the lesson number 23, because their coloration only comes from modules. Real SSL channel strips don't work like this. If you deactivate EQ and dynamics but you still crank up line input on 4000 consoles, you get actually heavy coloration. Their coloration coming only from modules, from dynamics with in-gain, and THD related only to EQ module in their channel strips, which is crazy. So I activate both modules, and we see the second harmonic, but nothing cranked up. Remember I said on real 9000, you crank up levels almost like by 16 decibels higher than analog 0 dBVU, and only then you have quiet second and a bit louder third. On this plugin I don't crank up anything, line input stays at 0, fader stays at 0, THD completely out. Modules engaged but they don't do anything because dynamics at 1:1 ratio, so compression is not engaged. EQ completely flat, nothing happens, but second harmonic. Did you see in real measurement second harmonic somewhere? No, it was second and louder third. With an extra output from alpha channel it was just third, no second. In this case, just second. Random stuff, you know what I mean? Let's say I crank up input gain. I remind you, dynamics and EQ don't do anything but modules just engaged. And you get second harmonic and third almost equal. We didn't see anything like this on analog. Crazy, right? And I just boost a bit, let's be honest, 5 dB only. With 5 dB I get this coloration. On real SSL, I needed to crank up levels literally by 15 dB, not by 5 dB, to get those tiny harmonics. On this one I get even louder harmonics by rotating input gain just by 5 dB. So seems like with modules on, it's much more colorful than real one. And with modules off, it's absolutely no coloration no matter how much you crank up THD and in gain. Random stuff, you know what I mean? If I engage EQ module only and I crank up THD, we just boost third harmonic alone. Which we never seen anything like this on real SSL analog, neither with dynamics on or off, or with compression or without compression. It's random stuff, you know what I mean? But actually I noticed this principle on all Brainworx plugin. No matter what, if EQ is on, dynamics is off, and you put THD up, you always raise up third harmonic like crazy. Really, Neve, Focusrite, SL4000, SL9000 behave like this, right? With EQ on, you just boost third harmonic. It's nonsense. Real devices don't behave like this. Let's try compression, right? Dynamics on, 3:1 for measurements, 100 milliseconds release, no peak detector mode, just traditional RMS detector. Let's start with slow attack, right? Slow attack, so this is analog indications. Second equals third almost, and just a little bit more pushed fifth. Fourth is still present, but second, third, fourth, fifth. Okay, this is coloration of the real one. This is coloration of Brainworx, with exactly the same settings. Let's double check. No EQ module. Okay, I'm gonna engage EQ. Something changes? No. Because THD is completely off, and THD in this channel strip affects only EQ section. So in-gain exactly at 0, like on analog. The same test signal with exactly the same levels, exactly the same settings. This is coloration of Brainworx, this is coloration of the real one. Much louder second and third. On Brainworx second very quiet, third quieter than on analog. Fourth missing, fifth quieter than on analog. Let's try fast attack. Fast attack I use with still 3:1, still 100 milliseconds release, but this time 10 decibels of compression, because I'm gonna be using up to 10 decibels of compression on the vocal, on the loudest word pawn of the vocal. And this is the structure of coloration. Second is missing, fourth is missing again, sixth is missing. Very strange, super linear, odd harmonics response. This is analog. Second is super pushed. Fourth is super pushed. Sixth. So even harmonics are present, not like on a plugin, right? In terms of even harmonics, analog still gives little bit more level of the third and fifth. Let's try performance test. EQ is off. I don't touch anything in terms of levels. Just dynamics, expander gate doesn't work. I go 150 milliseconds release, fast attack, 4:1 ratio, and I compress by 10 is maximum on the word pawn.
Treating people just like pawns and chess. Treating people just like pawns and chess.
Seems like this one is much more open sounding. It has like more like sound, while this one sounds more like you know. So silkier on the top.
Treating people just like pawns and chess. Treating people just like pawns and chess.
Analog.
Treating people just like pawns and chess.
Sounds different, but surprisingly, I would say dynamic-wise, somehow it's more similar to analog. Remember, the problem with SSL from SSL, it's too fluctuating. It's just like random, like like this, you know. With this compressor, it's, I would say, somehow tone different from analog, but dynamic-wise, it's more reliable, I would say.
Treating people just like pawns and chess.
Everything more like trading people, you know, exactly like on analog.
Treating people just like pawns and chess.
Analog has just much more natural and somehow better tone. Still silkier, it's smoother on the top, not as open raw like Brainworx. So definitely analog wins over here tone-wise and dynamic-wise. But at least before SSL from SSL lost the battle dynamic-wise and tone-wise completely. While this plugin loses tone-wise, but at least it has not too bad dynamics. You know, evening out the fact at least more or less similar to analog. I'm gonna change monitors to double check. On the other pair of my monitors, I just realized that Brainworx actually sounds quite annoying on the top. It's more like tone-wise, while other two plugins sounds more like instead of you know. And I still think because of lack of second, fourth, and sixth harmonic in the plugin, it sounds completely more like empty. Maybe it's more transparent, but it sounds empty. It doesn't have this thickness of the analog. Let's try on drums. Just EQ off, dynamics on. Expander gate doesn't do anything. Ratio 3:1. Release 100. Slow attack. It's not as polished, not as silky. But lows-wise, analog still the fattest and has this profound, maybe not too good for this mix, but it's just simply different tone. Analog SSL. Bold, like this do on the bottom end. Brainworx. Much tighter low end and two sweet highs. It's like both usable compressors, SSL from SL, this one. My point is, it's very different from analog one. Next plugin, Softube Console 9000. Drive to 9000. I put a compressor to 9000. There is peak mode and RMS. I measure RMS mode the whole lesson. Other modules, but they don't have any coloration. It's a completely digital filters, just curves. There is not even a point to use drive, because drive over here is not what line amplifier would provide on real 9000 consoles. SL has this alternative preamplifier called VHD. Drive is not a line amp. It's designed by SSL specifically to get extra coloration, and it sounds completely different from any SSL channel strips or consoles. It's more like for recording when you need extra juice during recording. It has nothing to do with line amplifier and compression bunch of harmonics. So we're gonna focus on RMS compressor. So for test we use peak mode is off, so RMS is working. Slow ratio, for the test we use 3:1. Release 100 milliseconds we use for this test. 3 dB of compression in slow attack mode. This is analog. Second almost equals third with 3 dB of compression in a slow attack mode. 4 fifth. This is plugin. Oh my god, so exaggerated. Third, second and fourth completely missing, and fifth. Third is very pushed. Actually, I noticed it on many channel strips from Softube. Third, for some reason, quite often pushed. On APIs, on NIVs, you know. Who knows what they emulate over there. They claim they emulate element by element in the circuitry. Yeah, right. Maybe they do, but something wrong they do maybe in some nuances, and eventually when it comes together it gives this strange coloration. Let's try fast attack. Ratio 3:1 we use for measuring. The same release 100 for measuring. So 10 dB for pawn.
Treating people just like pawns and shares.
Softube, more open and bright than SSL. SSL will be nasal. SSL from SSL plugin.
Treating people just like pawns and shares. Treating people.
This one like treating people, and SSL like treating people. SSL from SSL plugin, I mean. It's because of Softube for some reason sounds much more open, much brighter.
Treating people just like pawns.
And much tighter on the low end and low mid. I would say no density in Softube at all. I'm impressed. Softube sounds the brightest, the more like while other ones sound more like In comparison to thick analog, it would be probably the biggest difference. Softube.
Treating people just like pawns and shares. Treating people just like pawns and shares.
Crazy, I totally shocked. I didn't expect Softube sounds so different from analog one. Crazy. No thickness, no density, no bottom end, no this like in a sound on the Softube, while analog had all about this like thickness and much smoother top end. This one will be the cleanest for this kick, but it will be completely different sounding from analog. Console 1. Analog has much more density and much silkier top end and much more profound low end. This one has much tighter sound and more this like tick 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 like clickiness in upper mid. Making this comparison on the other pair of speakers over here allowed me to realize one thing. This other pair of monitors don't show this fatness of this analog kick as much, which actually I easily can tame with the Q, this extra fatness of this kick. But on this pair of monitors, all these three plugins actually sounded kind of like a bit thinner, I would say, you know, and because of this, on these monitors they were not pleasant sounding. Actually, this analog kick sounded the best. It sounded like very massive, very smooth and silky and very pleasant to listen to. Acoustica Audio Send 4 and Send 3, it's a SSL 4000 channel, which I explained in lesson number 23. IK Multimedia, a ratio for compressor 1:1. You can crank up levels, whatever, input, output, no color emulation on line amp. On a line amplifier. Now we apply compression. Let's start with slow. 3:1 for emulation, release 100. I compress by 3 dB, as you can see, LED 3 is highlighted. Whoa! What? Crazy! Hard mode actually is not present. It's present on modified 4000 series, which was available for 500 series modules of SSL. 4000 has hard knee, soft knee switcher, not 9000. And it was available for X-Rec, but for 4000. This is analog, second and third almost equal, fourth and a bit pushed fifth. Then this plugin. No second, no fourth, no sixth, but so exaggerated third, very exaggerated fifth, even seventh and even ninth. Crazy. Slow attack. In slow attack, it's nonsense. How about fast attack? With fast attack, remember, we test 10 decibels of compression as I need to apply it on the vocal. I put a bit extra input because it's impossible to achieve 10 dB. I put threshold all the way, but it's still not 10 dB, so I put little bit input, and now we have 10 dB of compression. Remember, this is analog. Previous plugins, they all had missing second, fourth, sixth harmonics, and third, fifth, and seventh was not pushed enough. On this plugin is opposite. On this plugin from IK Multimedia, actually third, fifth, seventh, ninth, and bunch of high harmonics, much more pushed than even on analog. So this plugin is opposite. If other plugins had under pushed third, fifth, seventh, this one has over pushed third, fifth, seventh. And still missing second, sixth, eighth, 10 dB of compression, maximum on the word pawn.
Treating people just
Is the dirtiest, is the fizziest, it's all this like on the top, like so dirty. It's the dirtiest plugin, like 2 times dirtier than any other plugin in this comparison.
Treating people just like pawns and shares.
I almost kind of hear this oversaturation on the top, like crazy. Analog.
Treating people just like pawns and shares.
Much clearer and smoother. Crazy. How about drums? Because in slow attack mode, which I'm gonna apply on drums, actually it's much clearer. In 1176, LA2A I believe as well, IK Multimedia showed pretty not too bad performance, but on SSL 9000 it's a joke. Even by layout looks very weird, because 9000 doesn't have brown knob EQ and black knob EQ. Secondly, where they found this hard mode on the 9000. They have black channel strip of the same kind for 4000. This one's supposed to be 9000. Also, it has hold on the gate, it's definitely 9000. Drums 3 to 1, release 100, 3 dB of compression. SL plugin. Somehow it has this like extra punch on the top. Detailization due to probably this exaggerated 3rd, 5th, 7th harmonics, but also it has actually pretty a lot of low end, surprisingly. So this is SL from SL plugin. Analog. Analog has this mid-frequency density, which plugin doesn't have. Plugin also sounds not as smooth, not as soft. Let's switch to the other monitors, just to make sure. On these monitors, this plugin sounds not perfect. It sounds somehow like really boxy, yes, detailed with detailization and everything, but it doesn't have this like pleasant smoothness. Even SL from SSL plugin has it, to some extent. Much more pleasant, soft, smooth. I want to listen to this kick drum on these monitors coming from Analog, and I absolutely don't want to listen to this beat with this sound coming from IK Multimedia. Boxy, empty, annoying, sort of not pleasant for ears at all. Free videos on my YouTube channel is just to get you interested. Real education, it's all 80 full-blown lessons. How to buy full lessons, read the description. As many of my students believe is absolutely the best course in the world. And one of my students even asked ChatGPT, and this is how he found me, because artificial intelligence told him that my course is the best in the world. If you don't want to be misled for the next 10 years, don't waste your time, participate in this course, how to buy full lessons, read in the description. In the end of each lesson, now we have parallel topic called Studio Setup, and over there I explain studio monitors, because they all suck, and even these $6,000 monitors show only from 3 to 4 audio parameters out of 15 audio parameters. How to combine different monitors to really cover all 15 audio parameters. I explain in different monitors, different headphones and stuff, so a lot of gem information. How to buy full lessons, read in the description.